Topic for today's lecture is drainage system. This particular chapter becomes or is an integral part of your civil services preparation. Now what happens is once you study the content along with the map, you will not forget it. This is the land surface on which water is flowing and I've shown you the side angle. Integrated system. Why it is integrated? Because they're going to be a major stream or the main stream. Along with it, there are other streams that are joining the mainstream. Those other streams which are joining the main streams are known as the tributaries. Hello aspirants, welcome to PW OnlyIAS. I'm here Harpreet Singh with lecture 3 of the geography series. The topic for today's lecture is drainage system. Please aspirants, note this down very carefully. Every year, particularly in your preliminary examination, at least 3 to 4 questions are asked from this particular unit. They might ask you the location of the rivers, the states which they are draining, the tributaries or various concepts related to this particular topic. This is also very relevant with respect to the mains examination where you want to link geographical aspects to various other dimensions in your answers. So please remember, this particular chapter becomes or is an integral part of your civil services preparation. The problem that students face is they are not able to remember the aspects or details about the rivers, which all tributaries are joining the main rivers, and the problem is that those are the questions that are asked in your preliminary examination. People think that we have to rote learn it. No, please understand. These are concepts that are involved. If you see it in a form of a map, then you are possibly able to remember them very well. So what we're going to do, we're going to resolve the problem that the students face. We will be studying the content also of the rivers and the details. Along with it, we'll be studying the map also. Now what happens is once you study the content along with the map, you will not forget it. So before we begin with the analysis of the various rivers in India, let us also study the basic concepts that are related to the concept of drainage system. So let's begin today's lecture. Students, this is a Telegram account where you can find this particular PDF. All what I'm writing on the board will be available here. Along with it, you can get a lot of guidance with respect to the anthropology optional and all the other aspects of the civil services preparation. Let's begin today's lecture. So the first thing that happens or comes across you is the word drainage. Now please understand this is a small hand-drawn diagram that I've made. See, this is the land surface on which water is flowing and I've shown you the side angle. The side angle. Now, this is the length of the river. Just for your understanding, this is the length of the river and this is the depth of the river, right? And this is the flow of the river is flowing. Yeah. Now see, what do you mean by the word drainage? Flow of water through well-defined channel is called drainage. Now this is a channel in which the water is flowing, right? This is a well-defined channel. So the flow of water through well-defined channel is known as drainage, and such network of drainages that are present with respect to the channels, the network of such channels is known as a drainage system. So this is one unit. Collection of such units in a form of a network is known as a drainage system. Again, if I say that water is flowing through a well-defined channel, I can call it as a drainage. If there is a network of such channels, one river is flowing, others are also flowing, they are in their own channels. So what I can call it as a drainage system. Clear? This is the first and the basic premise that you should be knowing. What is drainage and drainage system? There are certain other concepts, please remember, that are mentioned in your NCERTs. Now they also become very, very important. So let's begin and understand them. See. Thus, drainage system is an integrated system of tributaries. These are very important words. Integrated system. Why it is integrated? Because they're going to be a major stream or the mainstream. Along with it, there are other streams that are joining the mainstream. Those other streams which are joining the mainstreams are known as the tributaries. What do you mean by tributaries? Small rivers joining the main river, right? So I'll explain you, just understand this. Supposingly this is the main river that is flowing and this is supposingly the sea. These are small rivers that are joining the main river. So the small rivers which are joining the main river are known as tributaries with respect to this particular main river. Clear? Now, why is the drainage system known as an integrated system of tributaries? Because you realize that There is a main stream. Other tributaries are coming, joining them, and again the water is going to the sea. So it is integrated because it includes not only the main stream, but it also includes the tributaries that are associated with that main stream, right? Main stream or main river. Main stream over here means main river. The drainage system is an integrated system of tributaries. That means the main stream or the main river along with its tributaries, which collect what is going on. This is all the water is coming and getting collected and funnel the surface water to sea, lake, or some other water body. So whatever water is collected is funneled into the sea, lake, or whatever water body we are studying. This is also a way of understanding the drainage system. Clear? Now, the various other concepts that we have to study. Okay. Now comes certain key concepts that are important because they can be asked in your preliminary examination and for that matter in your mains examination as it is a classification or description also. So, catchment area. By default, when you study the catchment area, the word itself is defining a lot of things. What does it mean? A river drains water collected from a specific area. There is a specific area, right? And water is collected from this specific area. This will be the catchment area. Clear? In various books, catchment area, drainage basin, watershed, these are taken as approximately as similar. But again, there are specific various books that have defined it differently also based on their understanding. So we have to study from that perspective. So it is a way of understanding which varies over here. So the catchment area, basically, a river drains a water collected from a specific area is known as a catchment area. Now, please understand when I talk about catchment area, it also is classified into various aspects. Again, various words are given, but again, they're all related. When I talk about catchment area, a catchment area of a large river is known as a river basin. River basin. On the other hand, of a smaller river is known as a watershed. The catchment area of a small river can be called as a watershed. A catchment area of a large river can be known as a river basin. This is again exactly as per the NCERT's convention because then in the examination also such types of statements are put and asked. Yeah, okay, let's move ahead. Then, an area drained by a river and its tributaries is known as a drainage basin. Now, please understand, various places, river basin and drainage basin can also be, let us say, interchangeably used. Interchangeably used. So, certain books will be using like, let's see, it says large river area drained by a large river is known as a river basin. It can also be written as a drainage basin also, river basin also. So these are again different words. Similarly, as the river basin is written, it is equivalent to the drainage basin, where area drained by a river and its tributaries is known as a drainage basin. Again, it can also be written as a river basin. There is no problem in that. Next is watershed divide. Now please understand, what is the meaning of watershed? You knew something very well that the catchment area of a small river can be called as a watershed. Yeah? But there is something else known as watershed divide. Let us assume this. Supposingly, rainfall is happening or rainfall is occurring and there is a small mountain-like structure or elevation that is present. Now, water will be falling. So, because of this elevation, some water in the form of streams will be flowing this way. Some will be flowing this side, right? What is going on? Some rivers would be, because of this divide, some would be flowing this way. Let us assume this. Because of this divide, some water would be flowing this side. Some water will be flowing that side. Now, water will be going to the other side, this other side. So this is what? A divide. This is a divide, which is again what is going on. It is dividing various drainage basins. So this can be a drainage basin for some other river. This can be for somebody else. The watershed divide is a ridgeline or an elevation or height of land that separates neighboring drainage basins. Because there is an elevation. So because of that elevation, you will realize that certain rivers will be flowing the other direction, some of the other direction, because based on their elevation. So this divide is separating the drainage basins because this particular area will be drained by these rivers. This particular area will be drained by these rivers. So there are different drainage basins that are created. Right? Different drainage basins that are created, and these drainage basins are divided by what? By the watershed divide. So this is known as watershed divide. This should be very clear with you. These concepts should be very clear. Revise them again. It will be clearer to you again. These are all topics that are related to each other. River basin, drainage basin again. People might use the word catchment area. So please understand, these are all related, all pointing out to the similar thing only, but understood from different perspective. Clear? Let us move on to the next part, that is drainage system classification. Now please understand, in your NCERTs and certain standard books, this classification has been given. Now this becomes important. This has been asked in previous year questions long ago in your general studies mains paper also, and repeatedly asked in your prelims paper also. So let's understand. When I talk about drainage system classification, now what happens is, on the basis of the size of the catchment area. Now the first basis is the size of the catchment area. The size of the catchment area. Now, when I talk about size, definitely we'll be covering the aspect of area that is present, obviously. So it is divided into three categories. First, the major river basins. Second, the medium river basins. And third, the minor river basins. Again, based on area. Let's see them. The catchment area of about 20,000 kilometers square. Now, this is again a parameter for which, on the basis of which it has been classified. Now, the area limit is this. That means 20,000 square kilometers or even greater. Even greater. Over here, they amount for 85% of the total runoff all over India. While these are 14 in number, 14 in a way, like Ganga River Basin, Indus River Basin, these are big basins. These are big basins. So these come under the categorization of major river basins. If I put it in very simple words, let us assume I see a map of India, and based on the various rivers, I demark the various drainage basins of the various rivers. And if the area is close to 20,000 square kilometers or even greater, I will classify those river basins into the major river basins. Now, if you see, rivers like Indus, rivers like Ganga, these can be classified into the major river basins because of the larger area. Clear? Now let's see. Out of the total water that is flowing, right, the total runoff that is taking place, these contribute close to 85% because of their large size, along with it, the various tributaries that are associated. Next is medium river basins. Now the catchment area lies between 2,000 and 20,000 kilometers square. So let us say 20,000 square kilometer and above was categorized into the major river basins. Now, from 2,000 to 20,000 square kilometer, it is medium river basins. Contributes 7% of the total runoff. 44 in number. That means if I demarcate all the rivers along with the drainage basin, the medium category within this particular area, 44 river basins will come. Example, Periyar River Basin, Meghna River Basin. So these are examples of the medium river basins. Yeah. Third, the smaller ones. Now, these are again very small size. That means area below 2,000 square kilometers. These are 8% of the total runoff and 55 in number. Now, if I add all of them, major, medium and minor, you'll realize 14 plus 44 plus 55, that means 113 river basins or drainage systems, you can say, are existing over here. Clear? So, 113 is important. Why? Because in the examination also it can be asked. What is the basis of classification? It is basis of the size of the catchment area. Now you realize something. I use the word catchment area. Then I also use the word river basin. Why? Because I told you catchment area itself is classified into various words based on the dimensions. Let us say the area. If the catchment area for the larger rivers would be called as river basin, I can also call it as a drainage basin. For the smaller rivers, a catchment area might be known as what? A watershed. So do not get confused when I interchangeably use these words, because I had already explained you. When you're reading the NCERT also, bache, what happens is that sometimes you get confused. Acha, sometimes river basin is mentioned. Catchment area is mentioned. Are they different or not? I had made the chart for that also. You have seen here. Catchment area drains the water collected from that. So for larger rivers, the river basin. For smaller rivers, the watershed. So it can be changed, interchangeably used. For river basin, I can also call as drainage basin also. Then also it doesn't make any difference. Okay, let's move ahead. We have done first classification. Second is on the basis of origin of the river. Now, from where have the rivers originated? If I classify them, I can classify them into two broad categorizations. First, the ones that have their origin from the Himalayas, and the others which have the origin from the peninsular regions. Clear? Now you very well know that we will be differentiating between them also as we move ahead once we have studied the drainage systems of India. Himalayan rivers are fed by the glaciers as well as the rainfall, right? So that is why you realize they have a continuous source of water that is there. On the other hand, peninsular rivers are those rivers which are majorly receive their water from the rainfall. That is why they are of seasonal nature also, right? So the amount of water that is in the channels varies tremendously on the basis of the season that is there. Clear? So Himalayan rivers can be like Indus, Ganga, Brahmaputra, tributaries. Peninsular can be Godavari, Krishna, Kaveri, and many other peninsular rivers which you're going to study later. Let's begin. Now, other is the orientation of the sea. Now let us say first previous classification we had studied from where the river originates. Now let us say where does the river finally ends or drains into which water body is this classification. Now broadly can I classify them with respect to India, whether they are draining or going into the Bay of Bengal or the Arabian Sea, right? So Bay of Bengal drainage, the river that drains into the Bay of Bengal, these are 77% by number. What means? That means if there are total of the 100%, 77% rivers are draining into the Bay of Bengal, right? And 90% by volume. So if I see the total water that is drained into either the Bay of Bengal or the Arabian Sea, 90% by volume would be draining into the Bay of Bengal. Clear? This is the first classification or the first basis. Second is the Arabian Sea. The rivers that drain into the Arabian Sea. Now these are 23% by number and 10% volume by water. Now this can very well be asked in your preliminary examination, and obviously if they want to twist your leg and want to ask questions with respect to drainage in the mains examination also, this can also be asked, because they can ask you like describe a drainage system, what are the problems, how it is important with respect to economy, along with it give the basis for classification of the drainage systems in India. In that particular case, these things can be very well asked. Clear? Let's move ahead. Now comes a very, very important thing, drainage pattern. Now, please understand something. Various books, NCERTs, though going to some detail, not a lot of detail. Various books also classify things on various bases. So, I am taking a standardized classification that is again present in the Government of India books also. Along with it, something that is accepted by Government of India and UPSC for that matter. So, it might be a little bit contradictory to some other sources. This is a standard stuff which is accepted by UPSC, present in various government documents also. So I'm using them. So please understand something. Sometimes it happens when we're teaching in the class, certain facts, certain concepts might a little bit contradict with certain books, because we have to accept those facts which are accepted by UPSC or has been accepted by UPSC in the previous year questions, because and then the onus lies with the UPSC. Clear? So let's begin with the drainage pattern. Now please see, when I say pattern, the first thing that comes into my mind is some arrangement that is there. Yes, you're correct. The drainage pattern basically refers to a geometric arrangement of the streams in a region. Now see, till now when we were talking about drainage basins, we're talking about again some main river is flowing, then we realize that certain tributaries are joining the main river. But do you realize something? That the way the tributaries are joining the rivers and way the shape overall is formed will not vary or depend upon what is the amount of water that is present, what is the, let us say, the rock beneath the rivers. So a lot of factors will be determining how the shape of this stream along with its tributaries is. Let us assume this. There's a main river flowing, and let us say there are certain rivers that are joining like this, like this, like this. So you see, there is something parallel-like structure. Now, we might use the word parallel over here. There might be multiple reasons for that, right? So we are referring to the arrangement or the shape when we look at the river along with its tributaries. So what type of shape is formed? If I see it from an aerial view, let us assume you are at a particular height, and you see a main river moving and you see some tributaries joining it. What type of shape would possibly be formed? That means it is an arrangement, it is a pattern. That is known as drainage pattern. The geometric arrangement of the stream in a region is known as a drainage pattern. That means a design which a river along with its tributaries form together from the source to mouth. What is the meaning of source to mouth? The place of origin and to the point where it drains into, whether it is Bay of Bengal, Arabian Sea, whatever. Clear? This is the drainage pattern. Drainage pattern, geometric arrangement of the streams. Now please understand, there are certain books which contradict this system. This is again accepted, standardized by UPSC also and Government of India, so we're using this. Because even Survey of India documents use this specific classification, so I'm using that. So there is no problem because it is accepted by government. Okay. Types of drainage pattern. Every single word that is present over here is going to be explained. So don't worry, when I'm mentioning the word, don't think that's what is the meaning. Don't worry about that, we'll be explaining. Broadly, when I see the types of drainage pattern, I can divide them into two broad categories. First, discordant drainage pattern. Next, concordant drainage pattern. Two big classifications. One is discordant, other is concordant. Clear? Under the discordant, we have antecedent drainage and superimposed drainage. Concordant drainage pattern, we have consequent drainage and subsequent, and under this we are going to study basically the various types or the patterns which we are going to study. Don't worry about that. This is our major focus right now. We'll be studying this. Having seen the map, so what having seen this chart, what do you understand? Discordant pattern, which basically can be classified into two types. One is antecedent and another is superimposed. Second is the concordant, consequent or subsequent. Now let us study each and every one in detail along with the handmade diagrams that I've made for you. Let's see. Okay. Something very important. When I mentioned discordant drainage pattern, you remember? You remember when I mentioned discordant drainage pattern? What do you mean by discordant drainage pattern? See, the drainage pattern follows the initial river path and is independent of the changes in the topography and geology. Let us assume this, because you very well know antecedent is a form of this. So we can take an example over here. Let us assume a river is flowing here. This is a, let us say, a ground or a plain surface, and supposingly certain internal or let us say endogenetic changes take place and some mountain ranges or some landforms basically rises. And the river is still flowing because it might be cutting that particular landform, right? But cutting that landform. So do you realize one thing? That the drainage pattern, the way the river is flowing, the shape it is following, is not being impacted by the landform that has been created. What does it mean? The drainage pattern follows the initial river path, like it was flowing earlier on, the pattern of the shape. This is the pattern still being followed. In spite of the fact that due to some endogenetic forces, some mountains have risen, it is not being impacted by that. That means it is following the course that it was following earlier on, not being impacted. So what does it mean? The drainage pattern follows the initial river path and is independent of the changes in topography. That means whatever topographic changes have taken place, it is least being impacted by that. This is known as discordant drainage patterns. Under that, we realize that we have certain examples like antecedent rivers. We'll be studying them. So have you understood discordant? Discordant means that if certain uphills or changes are taking place with respect to, let us say, the topography or geology, the river will follow its initial path as it was following. So that is why it is known as discordant. Yeah. Now, under the discordant, we have two types. The antecedent drainage or inconsequent drainage, as we say. And second is superimposed drainage. Clear? So please understand, under the discordant, we have two categories. First is the antecedent drainage or the inconsequent drainage. Same thing, doesn't matter. Now let's see them. What do you mean by an antecedent drainage? Have you realized something when you are studying the drainage system, or if you have studied something, you would have realized that there are certain rivers like Brahmaputra. There are certain rivers like Indus, rivers like Satluj, which are cutting the Himalayas and then further moving ahead, right? So this is something very important for you to analyze. These are examples of what antecedent rivers. What does it mean? See. Here the river vertical incision ability matches the land uplift due to tectonic forces. These rivers existed even before the upliftment of the Himalayas that cut the courses southward. Now understand. You need to understand this very, very carefully. Over here, let us assume this river is flowing. What do you mean by antecedent? Because please understand, this is itself discordant because antecedent is an example of discordant. Let's see them. This river is flowing, and the previous example that I had given you is itself an example of antecedent. So what happens? If, let us say, due to tectonic activities or whatever endogenetic forces are taking place, there is a rise of certain mountains. As we basically see in the case of the Himalayas also rising, we realize that Indus and Satluj, they're all cutting the Himalayas. So how that has been possible? Because the rate at which the Himalayas, or let us say any mountain range or topography is rising, it is matched by the erosional ability of that particular river. That means that is why, let us assume this. Let us assume this. There is a flat land on which this river is flowing, right? Now I say slowly, there is, let us say, slowly there is a rise of the mountain. But this river is still cutting that landform at a similar rate at which this landform is rising. If the rate is same, it will be cutting or making those gorges over there, and so what will happen? These rivers will be cutting those landforms and still flowing in a similar pattern as it was flowing. That is why it is discordant, because it is not being impacted by what? The changes in the landforms that are taking place. So see here, did you realize this? So that is why this river was flowing. Now these, let us say, Himalayas have risen. They have cut through the Himalayas and still flowing. So how is it possible if the vertical incision, what do you mean by vertical incision? That means vertically cutting ability. Vertically they're cutting, that is why they're able to flow. So vertical incision ability matches the rate at which a landscape, or let us say a rise of mountain, is taking place. So can a simple word say a river that is flowing in a region even before the changes in the topography that took place, like in case of the Himalayas, those are known as the antecedent rivers. Clear? So this is an example. Indus, Brahmaputra are major examples of this, even Satluj for that matter. Clear? Let's move ahead. Next comes superimposed. Now this is again a very important aspect under discordant. See what we have done? We have done, what do you mean by discordant? You realize that we have done, what do you mean by antecedent drainage or antecedent rivers? Let's see the superimposed drainage. What does it mean? Let's see. Now please understand, this is something very, very interesting, and many people, when they are studying, they are not able to understand this because the diagrammatic representations are generally not provided in various books also. So let's see. First understand what it says, and then we will be using a diagram to understand that, right? Rivers flowing over a layer of soft rocks. Now this is a general condition where we observe this type of drainage. Supposingly a river is flowing, and supposingly these layers are made up of soft layers, soft rocks. Yeah. And supposingly beneath them, this darkened white color represents hard rock. Yeah. These three layers are soft layers. These, one, this, and this, these represent hard rocks. Clear? Clear? Now the river's flowing over the layer of soft rocks. So the layer of soft rocks the river is flowing slowly leads to the erosion of these soft layers. Yes, so if the river is flowing over the layer of soft rocks, slowly those layers will be eroded because the rivers have a tendency to erode, and if the rocks are soft, it is easier to erode them. Lesser amount of energy is required by the rivers. So the erosion will be at a rapid pace, and quickly the erosion will take place. So that means these soft layers will be eroded slowly. This leads to the below hard rock being exposed. Now understand something, that if due to erosion and the meandering activities, these layers are slowly after, let us say, hundreds of years, whatever be the time, are eroded. Clear? Now what will happen? This leads to this hard rock surface or this particular region being exposed to the river because the upper softer layers have been already eroded. The rivers tend to retain their courses, thus the stream pattern is superimposed on the ridge or the hard rock. Now understand what happens. What is going on is, why it is called superimposed? The river was flowing. The river was flowing as it is flowing. Now also it is flowing the similar way. When it was flowing in the soft rock part, the soft rock got at a greater tendency got eroded. So the hard rock surface was exposed. Now the river is still flowing and cutting through those regions because these hard rock surfaces were exposed. So what is going on? The pattern that was flowing earlier on is imposed or superimposed on the hard rock surface. That means, like, this was a soft rock, it was flowing like this. Now it is still flowing over here. That means the pattern in which it was flowing is being superimposed on this particular surface as it was on the softer rock surface. So that is why it is known as superimposed drainage. Again repeating, the rivers tend to retain their courses. What do you mean by courses? The way they were flowing. They tend to retain it. The only thing happens is that the stream pattern, the way it is flowing, the shape it is flowing, it is superimposed on these hard rock surfaces because of the erosional activities. Obviously, eroding the hard rock becomes little difficult for the rivers, but over that time you realize that they eroded and they maintain their course. Now, why it is superimposed? Because the river that was flowing in the soft rock, the pattern that it was following is imposed over the hard rock also. So this is known as superimposed drainage. Clear, everybody? I guess it should be clear to everybody. Now what we have done is, we have done antecedent and superimposed drainage. So this becomes very, very clear for you. Now comes concordant, under which we have to study consequent and subsequent. See here. Concordant. Concordant basically means that the drainage pattern is dependent upon the topography. Now, the way the shape or the arrangement of the river is, it will depend upon the topography, let us say slope of the land and all. So all these factors, right? So that is known as concordant. Now, first type is consequent. Consequent. The consequent drainage or the river will be consequent if it follows the direction of the slope. Let us assume if supposingly this is the slope of the region or a topography, and the river is coming and it is moving down. As you see here, this is the slope and the river is moving down. That means it is following the slope. This is known as what? A consequent river. Again, you can classify rivers on various categorizations, but if you want to label a river, if it is following the slope, it will be consequent in nature. That is simple. You can call these rivers as consequent rivers. Clear? Like Godavari, Krishna and Kaveri. These are what? Consequent rivers, you can say them, right? Next is subsequent drainage, or in a way you realize that for the rivers, you can call them as subsequent rivers. What are these subsequent rivers? See, tributary stream that is formed by headward erosion along with an underlying rock surface after the main drainage pattern has been established is known as subsequent rivers. Now please understand this. Supposingly this is a river. Now some erosion would have taken place and this river mainstream would have followed. Now let us say there is another river stream which basically due to erosional activities come to the level and merges with the mainstream. This is known as a subsequent stream. Why the word headward erosion is used? Supposingly, you will realize this river will also have to do some erosion in order to match the level of this particular river, main river. So it will be headward erosion. And later on what happens? It is basically merging with this particular river. That is why it is known as a subsequent river. Clear? Clear? A lot of tributaries are subsequent in nature as you come across them. Now comes the major thing. The shapes which we basically say, it is trellis, it is rectangular, it is dendritic in nature. All these are basically under a broad category of what? Consequent and subsequent drainage systems, right? Now let us understand what these shapes are. Dendritic drainage pattern, it basically means that when you see a river or view it from an aerial aspect, let us say you are few hundred feet above and you seeing a river along with its tributaries, and you see that it is like a tree-like structure. Okay, this is a main river. There are certain tributaries also here. So what is going on? Over here, we realize that this represents a branch of a tree. That is why it is known as dendritic. Means, what does it mean? Like a tree. And the drainage pattern resembles a branch of a tree and the most common drainage pattern that is found in India. Here the channels follow the slope, and terrain of this pattern has uniform lithology. That means with respect to joints and faults. So first thing, as I told you, if it is following the slope, it is going to be consequent in nature. And you realize that uniform lithology, that means there are uniformity with respect to faults and joints that are present. So that is why this structure can be easily formed. If you want to see the example, Mahanadi, Krishna, Kaveri, Indus also are examples of the dendritic pattern. Clear? Let's move ahead. Similarly, if you see trellis. Now trellis is, see here, the primary tributaries more or less parallel to one another, while the secondary tributaries joining from the sides. If you see this, more or less parallel to each other, and secondary tributaries are joining. So this is known as trellis drainage pattern. Example being Son and Damodar. These are examples of the trellis drainage pattern. Let's move ahead. Radial drainage pattern. Very interesting. Characterized by outflowing rivers from a central point. Let us assume, like when we talk about Narmada, we talk about Amarkantak Plateau and all. Supposing there is a higher altitude region where, let us say, water is falling, rainfall, and from that particular point, various rivers are moving out from a central height. That is why, let us say, this is a region of some height, water is falling, and what rivers in the various forms of streams are moving out. So that is why what is said, characterized by outflowing river from a central point, which is generally of certain height, water is falling, so rivers will be flowing outward. Rivers will be flowing out from this central height. So this is known as, this type of drainage, if you view from the above, will be known as a radial drainage pattern. Example is Narmada in the Amarkantak region. Parallel. Now if you see, rivers like Jhelum and Ravi are almost parallel. So you realize that when there is some rivers which are parallel to each other, joining the main river, you can call them as parallel drainage pattern. Example, Jhelum and Ravi, as I mentioned. Next is annular. Sometimes what happens is, if there is a region where river tends to follow a curvy path, and then possibly further move ahead, then it is known as annular. So what happens? Rivers following a curving or an arcuate courses prior to joining a consequent stream. So what is going on? These are following some round path because of the topography and later joining with the main stream. Then it is known as annular drainage pattern. Example, Bhavani River in Tamil Nadu. Next comes rectangular. Over here you realize there is something known as right angle connections in which they are joining to the main river. So what does it mean? Marked by right angle bends and right angle junctions between the tributaries and the mainstream. So you realize that mainstream, right angle, their tributaries also joining them at right angle. So this is known as rectangular drainage pattern. Example, Subranarekha. That can be an example over here. Clear? Let's move ahead. Now comes the important thing, which we basically study when we're talking about the drainage systems in India. Clear? Let's begin with the drainage systems of India. When we talk about the drainage systems of India, there's something very important that when you're reading your NCERTs, particularly of class 11th, you read all the stuff which I have mentioned till here in, let us say, very brief manner, right? This was important for you because if you want to comprehensively understand the drainage system, you need to understand these concepts well. Many will be thinking, sir, why have we studied that? We could have straight away moved on to understanding the drainage systems where we can study Ganga, Indus, Brahmaputra, Peninsular rivers. Yes, important. But if you want to understand them, these concepts should be very clear. And why I have made the handmade diagrams over here, you would have seen all the diagrams were made by hand, so that you get the feel of these concepts and you can yourself learn and then make it clear in your head. Many people, please understand, feel that there are a lot of things to remember. But please understand, if you want to prepare for civil services, just saying that I am a good person who can analyze stuff does not mean that you will qualify this examination. Why? Please understand. Supposingly you are a district magistrate, you are a person who, let us say, even if you want to qualify, let's assume you have qualified and you are a district magistrate and you say you are good at analysis, but you do not remember anything. What will you analyze? You cannot analyze without knowing things. NCERTs form the very basic route or basic stuff that everybody should remember or know. Today when people say, so we need to remember so much stuff for this, please understand, these are the foundation that should be on your tips. You should be knowing them. If you know them, that will form your basis, and obviously for prelims as well as mains. So NCERT's content, which we are teaching in so much detail, should be on your tips. Read them, revise them, watch the lecture, and along with it, you can download the content and then again revise and make your own notes if you want. Yeah, let's begin. When I talk about drainage system in India, we need to understand certain things with respect to concept of right and left bank tributaries before I basically begin. See here, supposingly there is a river. Supposingly this is a river. Clear? Now, for me to understand what are the right bank tributaries, what are the left bank tributaries, I need to be very well clear in which direction the river or the main river is flowing. Let us assume this river is flowing in this particular direction. Clear? If it is flowing in this direction, you know that is good enough for me to analyze what are the left bank tributaries and right bank. So supposing certain rivers are joining it from this side. Certain rivers are joining from this side. Now, what you need to do is analyze from the side of the direction. That means if it is going this way, the ones that are joining from the left side of the direction of flow are left bank. The ones joining from the right side from with respect to the direction of flow are considered as right bank tributaries. So can I say something over here? This is a right bank tributary. This is also a right bank tributary. RBT, LBT, right? So can I say this is a left bank tributary? Left bank tributary, because it is joining from the left side with respect to the movement or direction of flow. Now let us change the situation. If I say this is the direction of river, right? Let me mark it as this. Clear? Now, can I say something that supposingly certain rivers are joining like this, yeah? So, can I say that this is the direction of flow? With respect to the direction of flow, the ones in the left are left bank tributary. From the right, right bank tributary, right bank tributary. Now, even let me turn the condition completely over here. Let's see. River is flowing in this direction. Now, please understand, under normal circumstances, if I do not know the flow of the direction, things will be reversed. Now, let us say I am saying that this is flowing in this particular direction. Yeah. Now, if this is the direction, the rivers joining from this side will be right bank tributary. Yes or no? Supposingly rivers are joining from this side, some are joining from this side. Now, see the direction of flow. This is the flow. So, from this perspective, if you see, on the right side are the right bank tributaries. Right bank tributary. Right bank tributary. On the other hand, these are left bank tributary, left bank tributary. So, what is important here? You can get or understand whether a tributary is left bank or right bank only on the basis if you know the flow or the direction of flow of the main river. Only then you can understand. So this is again very important concept, because many people tend to get confused, sir, what is right bank, left bank? So this should be clear to everybody, because again, these are certain basics that That should be known to everybody, right? Okay, let's move ahead. Let's begin with the first concept. The first concept is, or the drainage system is the Indus drainage system. Now, please understand, we will be doing or analyzing stuff from two aspects. First, we will be reading the content also. We'll be seeing the map also, and so that you can understand them very well. Let's begin with the drainage of the Indus River. Now, see over here. Do you realize this is a particular map that has been drawn for you? Right? Now, for the timing in this particular map, I am primarily focusing on the Indus River and its tributaries. What I'm focusing on? Indus Clear? Let's take a minute and analyze its content, what is mentioned in the NCERTs and standard books, and then we will track its course. Clear? This is a map in front of you. Now see. What is it saying? The Indus drainage basin, again, you know what is drainage basin. That is why I made you understand that. You should be now aware of that. That means the area that is being drained by what? The Indus River. So covers an area of 11 lakh 65,000 square kilometers, out of which 3,21,289 square kilometers lie in India. Clear? So you can very well know that majority of the drainage basin of the Indus lies in Pakistan. If I see the total length, 2,880 kilometers, out of which 1,114 kilometers lies in India. This is again the basics you should know. Now, where is it originating? It is originating from the Bokharchu glacier. Now see here, Bokharchu. Now it is located on the northern slope of Mount Kailash, first of all. So we will be studying this Bokharchu glacier. Now, Bokharchu glacier, it flows between the Ladakh and the Zaskar range. Again, something very important from the perspective of your preliminary examination. They can ask you which particular river flows between the Ladakh and the Zaskar range, or while asking multiple statements, they can put one of these statements and change them with respect to Karakoram, Ladakh, all these things. So you should be very clear that it flows between the Ladakh and the Zaskar range. It enters into Pakistan near Chillad. So when it enters near Pakistan, it is area known as Chillad. Clear? Now let's come back. Indus River has various tributaries. Left bank tributaries Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Beas, Satluj, which we'll be analyzing again, and right bank Khurram, Tochi, Sangar, and Gomal. Having understood the basic content with respect to the major Indus River, let us analyze its course now. See here. I told you that, students, that there are certain other things also mentioned here, that the Indus River originates from the Bokharchu glacier. Bokharchu glacier, which is in the northern slope of Mount Kailash. Where is Mount Kailash? Kailash range, which you have studied in your previous lecture with respect to the Trans-Himalayas. Now, this river starts moving, and this is a region in Tibet. In Tibet, the Indus River is known as Singhi Khamban. In Tibet, the Indus River is known as Singhi Khamban. The meaning is lion's mouth. Clear? Then it enters India. It tends to move in the northwestern direction. It moves between the Ladakh and the Zaskar range, further moving upwards, then takes a turn and then enters Pakistan near the Chillad region, as we have mentioned. And this further again you can say moves and goes ahead, right? Now see this. When you have seen the major course of the Indus River, let's see certain tributaries also associated with them. These are not very important ones because we will be doing the major ones, but this is something that you should be aware, can be asked. Now see. When you are moving here, you know the direction of flow is this. So this is a left bank tributary. This left bank tributary is known as a Dras River. Now, please understand this from the right side, because we should know what is the direction of flow. This is the direction of flow. Right? This is the direction of flow. Based on this, I know that there is an important tributary that is joining from the right. What do you mean joining by the right? That means right bank tributary, which is known as Shylock River. This is Shylock River. Now the Shylock River itself has certain tributaries. One is Nubra River, which is joining the Shylock, Nubra River. Then there is another major important river joining the Shylock River. This is known as the Shigar River. Shigar. Now the Shigar itself is made up of two major rivers. What are those? Basha and Braldu. Braldu. Braldu and Basha. So these two, Basha and Braldu, merge and then move ahead in the form of Shigar. Clear? Now these are again providing a lot of water to the Indus River also. Now these move ahead. Now you realize again there is very important river. This joining again from the right side. This is the Gilgit River. If you move further, there is a left bank tributary which is known as Aster River. AST or Aster River. This is something that you should be aware of along with the facts that we have studied here if you want a very comprehensive understanding of the rivers and the river system and the drainage basins or drainage system as a whole. So this is a Indus River along with certain tributaries. You're going to study the major tributaries after this. So this is a part. Now let's go on and study the major tributaries of the Indus River. Clear? Let's move ahead. Now please understand, I'm using the same map and certain modifications with respect to this previous map would be done so that you understand or maintain the consistency with respect to the map when you are making. We have studied the river Indus and its small tributaries which are lying in the north, right? Now let us analyze the other important tributaries or the rivers. Over here, my focus is Jhelum River. Jhelum River. Now, if I want to understand Jhelum River, before I tell you the course and how the things are going on, let us understand something about Jhelum River. Let us see. Jhelum is also known as Vitasta. This can be asked in your paper, Vitasta. It rises from a spring at Verinag at the foothills of Pir Panjal. So I have already highlighted those sections which are important, which can be asked in your prelims in these yellow. It can be asked, arises from a spring at the foothills of the Pir Panjal range. So again important. Flows through Srinagar and Wullar Lake. It joins the Chenab at Trimu and near Jung in Pakistan. The length is about 400 kilometers. Now this is the detail with respect to the Jhelum River. Let us analyze it with respect to the map. Now what happens is when you're studying the NCERT, why do you not remember these things? Why? Because you are studying this without analyzing it on the map. Now when you analyze this along with the map, you will not forget it. Clear? Let's see. Now let me analyze or take the example of this particular Jhelum River. See bache. This is a particular point. What is this? A spring at the Verinag at the foothills of the Pir Panjal. This is the Verinag from where the river is originating. It moves in the southwestern direction. It touches Anantnag. After that, it moves in the northwestern direction. Then again, it is interacting with the Wullar Lake. Wullar Lake, as we had mentioned. Now it moves almost in the direction which is west direction. Then it basically touches what? Baramulla. Then it moves in the northwestern direction. It moves in the northwestern direction and almost forms a natural border with India and Pakistan. And later then it enters what? Enters Pakistan. Right? It enters Pakistan. Important thing over here is a very important tributary is joining the Jhelum River. You know now direction of flow is this. So a right bank tributary. What is the right bank tributary here? See. The river joining one is Kishan Ganga. Kishan Ganga is also known as the Neelam River. So I've highlighted this. This is Jhelum. Jhelum rising from the Verinag and Pir Panjal, then Anantnag, then Wullar, then Baramulla, then forming almost a natural border. This can be asked in your papers also. Which particular river acts like a natural border between India and Pakistan? This is again Jhelum. And then it enters Pakistan. You know very well You know very well over here that when we talk about this entering Pakistan, it is entering near Jhang. So we can basically analyze this. We'll be analyzing at what point it is meeting Chenab and all in the next slide. Till now, we should understand what is Jhelum. Clear? This is the path. Having understood this, you have understood now Indus, main Indus rivers flow and certain tributaries joining it. You have understood Jhelum. Let us move ahead and see from the aspect of Chenab. Chenab river. Now see everybody here. Now, before I analyze what is Chenab and how the course is flowing or what is the course, let us analyze certain content on the basis of Chenab and then we can analyze the course. Chenab is the largest tributary of Indus. Again, this has been asked in the prelims as few of the statements that are mentioned. Let us say 3-4 statements are present. They can put some other river. That Jhelum is the largest tributary and all. No, Chenab. Right? Formed by two streams, Chandra and Bhaga. Now these Chandra and Bhaga, two streams basically merge. They merge at Tandi at Himachal Pradesh and it is known as Chandrabhaga. Now Chandrabhaga is an alternative name for Chenab. This should also be known to you. It runs for about 1180 kilometers before entering Pakistan. So that means this is the length which is in India. After that, obviously, it is in Pakistan. It is also known as Askini. These are Sanskritized words of these rivers. So this should also be known to you. Yeah, this can be asked. Now we know this part. Let's move back and analyze this, bache. See here. Okay. Very well understand this. When I'm talking about Chandrabhaga, see over here very well. These are two rivers. These are two rivers. Just give me a minute. These are two rivers over here. Chandra, Bhaga. Now these Chandra and Bhaga, from where are they originating? They are basically originating from the either side of the Baralacha Pass. They are originating from the Baralacha Pass. They basically merge at what point? This is a point which is known as Tandi. T-A-N-D-I. Tandi. Tandi is a point where the Chandra and Bhaga are merging. Once it is merged, it is known as what? Chandrabhaga, alternative name for Chenab. It further moves northwest. It crosses Kishtwar, again a very important place, culturally also. It then moves little bit southwestern region, then crosses an important place, Rayasi, and then it moves and enters Pakistan, and it meets the river Jhelum at a point known as Trimu. At a point known as Trimu. T-R-I-M-M, known as Trimu. So Chandra and Bhaga meet at Tandi. They move, cross Kishtwar, Raisi. Then it at this part has been in India. Then it moves into Pakistan and it merges with Jhelum and meets them at what? A point known as Trimu. Clear, everybody? Clear? Okay, this was something that you should be aware of. Okay, next. The next thing that comes is an important river which is known as Ravi. People call it Ravi sometimes. It is the correct pronunciation is Ravi River. Clear? Ravi River. Now see over here. Before we analyze this whole course of this Ravi River, let us analyze. Please understand, this is a Ravi River. Certain description has been given over here, right? Let us analyze the content of the Ravi River and then we'll follow the course and understand it. Let's see. If I see from the perspective, Ravi has alternative names also. Parushi and Iravati. These are again names. Sometimes what happens is in the examination, the UPSC might use the word Iravati, right? And many people will be thinking, okay, Iravati though we haven't studied. And they'll say Iravati is a important tributary of the Indus drainage system or Indus river. People will say Iravati will be some South Indian river. So this is wrong. No, it cannot be. So people will mark that statement wrong. This is how UPSC plays with it. That is why these statements which I'm telling you, each and every single word, if you want to analyze further also, if you do not know these things, it will be very difficult for you to qualify this examination. Everybody tells na, make your foundation strong, make your foundation strong. It basically means that at least the NCERTs and the basic books are done very well by you. What do you mean by very well? It doesn't mean rote learning. No, it doesn't mean rote learning. It means if I'm telling you how the river is moving, you know the course, you're understanding it. If you repeat it, revise it multiple times, they are stored in your mind. That is what is the difference between understanding, learning, and obviously different from rote learning. Obviously, when you revise many times, things are stored in your mind. But if you understand how things are happening, then that is learning. If you just cram it without understanding, then that is rote learning. So this is a difference you should all remember, right? You have to learn. That means you should know also and understand how it is happening. That is what true learning is, and that is what is required by civil services, right? Okay. Ravi is called Parushian Iravati. Where does it originate? It originates in the Kullu Hills west of the Rohtang Pass. It joins Chenab near Sarai Siddhu. This is again an important place which I have marked on the map also. Sarai Siddhu joins again the river over here at Sarai Siddhu. Clear? River drains the region between the southern part of the Pir Panjal and the Dhauladar range. Now please understand, this again has become important. When I was talking about Indus, you saw we were talking about Ladakh and the Zaskar range. When we're talking about Ravi, we are saying that region between the southeastern part of Pir Panjal and the Dhauladar range. This can again be asked. It has been asked, so it becomes important. Length is 725 kilometers. Clear? Now let's come to the map. Now you know that very well that the river over here is originating in the Kullu Hills. It moves in almost at a 30-degree angle towards the northwestern direction. Then it moves into Pakistan and finally merges at Sarai Siddhu with Chenab. So this is again the major thing that you should know. And I think this is what is the important part also. What we extra that is required is already mentioned over here. So we already know that it joins Chenab near Sarai Siddhu. So this is what you should require. And this is the basics that you should understand as mentioned in NCERT. Let's move further. Now there are two other important tributaries with respect to what? Indus. Those are Beas and Satluj. What? Beas and Satluj. Let us see. When I talk about Beas and Satluj, we will first analyze also what do you mean by Beas, then Satluj also, right? Let's see Beas first. Let me mark it here so that it becomes clear for you. This particular river is known as Beas, right? This particular river known as Beas. Clear? First Beas. Let's see Beas. Beas originates from the Beas Kund near Rohtang Pass. Beas merges with Satluj at Harike. Length is 465 kilometers. It's also known as Vipasha and Argikia. Right? These are again alternative names. So what does it mean? See, what is this place? This particular place is Beas Kund. Let us decrease the font. Known as Beas Kund. From where it originates, then it moves. It merges with what? It merges with your Satluj river at Harike. Now, which is this point? Which is this point? This is Harike. Do you analyze one thing? Out of all these rivers, Beas is the only river which is completely in India. All the other rivers which you realize with respect to Indus, Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Satluj, these are also present in Pakistan. Only Beas is the one that is present in India. This can again be a statement in your prelims. So you should be very well aware of this, because at the time when you are writing your examinations, it is you are already under a lot of pressure. If you do not know them, then it becomes very difficult to answer it. So this should be clear. Clear? Now we have understood Beas. Rising from Beas Kund, moving, then you realize that it basically merges with the Satluj river at Harike. The length is 465 kilometers, and the two alternative names you've already studied. Now comes another important river, that is Satluj. Now, let us mark the Satluj river. Let me, meanwhile, convert this into lighter color so that it will be easier for you to comprehend. Let me make it lighter color, right? This is Beas. Now, let us see what is Satluj river doing here. See, there is a very important location that is known as Arrakis Lake in the Tibetan region. Now, from there, this is originating. So, let us first mark it. Clear? So, this is a complete path which you see of the Satluj river, very long river. That is why it is 1050 kilometers. Now, let's understand the dimensions of Satluj river. See here. Satluj river originates in the Rakas Lake near the Mansarovar Lake in Tibet. Satluj is also called Langchen Khamban in Tibetan region, because you very well know what does it mean that Satluj is an antecedent river, right? It is an antecedent river. It flows parallel to the Indus for 400 kilometers before entering India. So this again becomes important. It is flowing parallel. It passes through Shipkila Pass in the Himalayan, that is in Himachal Pradesh state. You have this Shipkila Pass. Now see here. It rises in the Rakas Lake near the Mansarovar in Tibet. It moves. It passes through what? This is what? The Shipkila Pass. Shipkila Pass. Crosses it. It feeds the Govind Sagar Dam. It further moves. Bias merges with it with Harike. Later moves on and meets the Satluj river at Mithankot. This is the pattern. This is the way. This is the drainage of the Satluj. Clear? Hopefully it is clear to everybody. I have used all the maps and all the content has been written over here. So by default, it becomes easy for you. If you forget, supposingly what happens if had I been just using the maps, possibly you would have not been able to recollect. So what I've done is I've written everything also. What I'm speaking is already mentioned here. When you are revising with the content, it will be easy for you to recollect because you just have to see the map, see the content. Yes, it is fine. We know what it is and we can analyze and we can remember it also. Clear? Okay. So this is what was the Indus drainage system that we studied, right? So, Bache, now let's begin with the other aspect of your drainage system. We have done with the Indus drainage system, again, a very important drainage system. Many questions are asked from that. And the next part that we are going to study is the Brahmaputra drainage system. Now, the Brahmaputra drainage system again becomes very important. If you see a map has been drawn to you representing India, northeastern part of India, Nepal, Bhutan, and Bangladesh, right? Now, this also is very important, but there are certain very important concepts that are associated with the Brahmaputra river system. So please make sure that you recall them and remember them in the examination. And for that, you have to adhere and listen to the lecture very properly. While listening to the lecture also, make notes if you want. You can obviously download this file, a PDF file later on, but listen to the lecture very carefully. That is again important, which something that you might miss if you do not watch the lecture. So please watch it very carefully. Okay. Let us first see the course of Brahmaputra, and then along with it, we will put various tributaries that are coming, right? Okay. Just having just a look before I explain again, we have certain explanation also before we understand. You can see a certain region that is Chemangyongdung Glacier from the Kailash range and Brahmaputra river, which is known as Yarlung Zanglo or Tisangpo in Tibet. Later turns and then enters India, right? And further moves ahead. Before I analyze this again, let us first understand a brief about the Brahmaputra river and its origination and various aspects associated with that. Let's see. Brahmaputra originates from the Chengmengdung Glacier in the Kailash range near Mansarovar Lake, right? Mansarovar Lake. It carries a lot of silt along with it. Understand, what happens is that because it is eroding the region of Tibet, So that erosional activities basically lead to a lot of silt coming along with the Brahmaputra river, which is known as Tsangpo in your Tibetan region, right? So it moves eastwards. You realize this, it is moving eastward, right? It is moving eastwards for 1,200 kilometers in southern Tibet, where it is called Tsangpo. So can I say that in Tibetan region, or what is known as autonomous part of China, it is moving for 1,200 kilometers there. Then it enters India. It creates deep gorges in the central Himalayas. Where does it create deep gorges? In the central Himalayan region here. Very deep gorge. And near the Namcha Barwa, 7755 meters. So where is Namcha Barwa? Here, Namcha Barwa. The river emerges from the foothills of the Himalayas as Siang and Dihang. Siang and Dihang. Now, this is a description. Now, let us move ahead and understand certain things very carefully. Now, this is important. The Brahmaputra river originating in the Chemung Glacier in the Kailash range, it travels or moves for 1200 kilometers approximately. Then it takes a sharp turn. And in the sharp turn, again, it creates a deep gorge because it is cutting through the Himalayas just near the Namcha Barwa. Now, please understand this is very, very, very important. Tsangpo, or what is known as Yarlung Zanglo, is not called Brahmaputra when it enters India. It is not called Brahmaputra. It enters with the name of Siang or Dihang. The river is known as Siang or Dihang when it enters India. Is it clear to everybody? It is not called Brahmaputra when it enters India. It is known as Siang or Dihang. Afterwards, after traversing some distance, you realize that Lohit and Dibang rivers basically meet the Siang or Dihang river, and once the merger takes place, then it is known as Brahmaputra river, and then what we call as Brahmaputra, which moves ahead, right? Clear? It is not called Brahmaputra when it enters India. It enters as Siang or Dihang. It is called Brahmaputra when Dibang and Lohit merges with the Siang or Dihang. Then it is known as Brahmaputra river henceforward. Clear? This is a basic thing that is clear. Let's move on to the next map in addition to this, where I am going to show you the tributaries of Brahmaputra. Let's see this. Okay. Quite an interesting map here. Everything has been hand drawn so that you are able to feel like that it can be drawn, it can be understood. If I had used the Google Maps or not, it is very easy. This takes a lot of effort. It is for you so that you make the best use of it. Okay. We already have known this Yarlung Zangpo turning, Siang and Dihang merging and going ahead. This was done in the previous part. Now comes very important dimensions, the other aspects here. Clear? What we can do over here is, please understand, I am going to explain this after this in this case, because it is very important for you to understand the map in this particular case, because a lot of new words are going to come here. See, I am talking about the major tributary. I'm talking about the major tributary that basically originated from Tibet, moves on, enters as Siang. Then you realize very well that it moves further and is going ahead, right? Now, the names of this particular river, you should understand that very well. That does not remain the same. Now, see, the Brahmaputra over here loses the slope. That means the topography becomes, or the slope decreases tremendously. So, a lot of silt that is brought here tends to be, let us say, deposited in this region. That is why you realize that a lot of riverine islands are there, like Majuli and all, because the slope tremendously decreases, and the amount of silt that was brought by the Tsangpo river from Tibet was a great extent. And along with it, because it is creating a deep gorge in Himalayas, that erosional activity also produces a lot of silt, right? And that silt is again because of the fall in the slope deposited in this region. Clear? Okay. Now, please understand, as we all know that, we know the direction of the river. This is the direction. So I can analyze what is the right bank, left bank tributaries. That is clear. Okay, see. There is one important river that is again a right bank that is joining as Subhansiri. Then as you move ahead, there are other river like Manas. Then you have another important river in the form of Sankosh. This is Sankosh. Then there is another important river, Raidak. Now please understand these three are coming from the Bhutan Himalayas. So this can be asked. They can be ask you the order, let us say from east to west, west to east, or they can ask you which among the following are rising from the Bhutan Himalayas. Then you have the Tista River from the Sikkim region and then merging with the Brahmaputra. On the other hand, if you see the left bank, you have an important tributary as Dhansiri. Then you have the Kapili. Clear? Please understand, one thing should be very clear to you. Till this particular point, see here, till the point where Tista is joining Brahmaputra. Till here you realize that it is called Brahmaputra after the merger with Lohit and Dibang. Once Tista joins Brahmaputra, it is known as Jamuna. NCERT also mentions an alternative word by the base of pronunciation as Yamuna also. Please do not confuse it with Yamuna or a tributary of Ganga, not that. In Bangladesh, when Brahmaputra merges with Tista, it is known as Jamuna. Sometimes people pronounce it as Yamuna also. So don't get confused if the name is present. So we are using the word conventionally as Jamuna. So Tista merges with Brahmaputra and it is known as Jamuna. Clear? Now see. Now see here. There is another river, you know that, Ganga, coming and it is merging with what? The Jamuna river, which is what? The Brahmaputra after merging with Tista. It is known as Jamuna. Now Jamuna river is flowing. This is what? Understand this. This is what? This particular part of river is known as what? Yamuna. Yamuna. Why? Because it is merged with Tista. Now, this particular Jamuna, now Ganga is coming from the northern plains and it is merging with Jamuna. When it is merging, where is it merging? It is merging at a particular point, which is known as Golundu. When we'll be drawing this in a form of a flowchart also next, so don't worry. Tista plus Brahmaputra leads to Jamuna. Ganga merging with Jamuna creates a river which is known as Padma. That means Ganga joining with Jamuna, this particular portion is known as Padma. Now what happens is, as it moves ahead, the Barak river, which had originated from the Manipur hills, merges with what? Padma river. When Barak river rising from the Manipur hills, that is the northeastern India, merges with Padma, it is known as Meghna. It is known as Meghna. This part is Padma, this is Meghna. Now, the point where Barak river is merging with Padma is known as Chandrapur. Now, this is something which might sound complicated, very easy. I'll be showing you the next slide, but you should be aware of this. Can I repeat it again? See, Brahmaputra is flowing. Conventionally, if you say Brahmaputra is known as Jamuna in Bangladesh, but to be more precise, when Brahmaputra merges with Tista, it is known as Jamuna. Some books also mention in a slang wise as Yamuna. Both are right. Do not get confused with Yamuna of Ganga, right? Then, now Jamuna river is flowing forward. Now Jamuna is flowing here. Now Ganga merges with Jamuna at a place known as Golundu. Over here, post the merger, it is known as Padma. Now Padma river is flowing further. It is merged by a Barak river which arises from the Manipur hills. Padma plus Barak leads to a name that is Meghna. Clear? Let's see here. When tributaries of Lohit and Dibang merge with Siang and Dihang, it is called Brahmaputra. One important thing. Brahmaputra plus Tista leads to Jamuna near a place known as Chilmari. Jamuna plus Ganga at Golundu, then it is known as Padma river. Padma river plus Barak from the Manipur hills meet at Chandpur. It is known as Meghna. So this should be very clear to you. If you have a doubt, please read this and see the lecture again and this particular flowchart that I've drawn. What I've told you here, I've put it here so that you do not get confused. Clear? Let's move ahead. Overall, if you see, Brahmaputra has various left bank, Dhansiri, Kapili, Barak, left bank tributaries, right bank, Subhansiri, Manas, Sankosh, Raidak, Tista, and Ganga. So these are again a brief sum up of what we had studied. Clear, everybody? Clear? Okay. Now comes a very important drainage system, that is the Ganga drainage system. Clear? Ganga drainage system. So please, again, as we have done in the previous, that is Indus and Brahmaputra, you have all hopefully understood that well. If you haven't, please just again move back and see the lecture again, or lecture part which you haven't understood. You'll be analyzing it well or understanding it well. Over here, the Ganga drainage system again is important because a lot of rivers are there. So we need to analyze. Please understand one thing. If I see the Ganga river and it's the mergers of the various rivers and taking place, it would become very difficult because a lot of things are happening in the state of Uttarakhand. Now see here. Over here, a lot of things are happening. I cannot draw all of them here. So what I've done is this Uttarakhand region from where we realize the origination of this Ganga river and all taking place, I am considering in prior over here. And then we will move ahead after all these rivers have merged and the Ganga has formed, and we'll be considering all these things then, right? So let us see what is happening in Uttarakhand. Let's see. If you go to Uttarakhand, it is again, Uttarakhand is known as Dev Bhumi. Why? Right? Very important from the perspective of religion. Very important religious places are located here. Lot of dhams are located here. Not only from the perspective of Hinduism, even from the perspective of Sikhism, even from the perspective of Jainism, even from the perspective of Buddhism, a lot of important places are here. So this is again a land of gods also, Dev Bhumi, right? So let's study them. See over here very well. Let's see the word when I start with the river, it is not that Ganga simply originates from here. No, it originates later on. It is named Ganga later on. What are the processes that take place? See. If you see here, from Badrinath region, you realize Alaknanda basically originates. What can I say? I think it is not clear. I'll write it again. Alaknanda, right? Alaknanda. Now, Alaknanda, originating from the Badrinath, is merged by Dholi Ganga. When it is merging, it is known as Vishnu Prayag. So, in people, especially from the Uttarakhand state, if you are going to the interview, there is a great chance that you can be asked with respect to these prayags. So you should be very well aware which river is merging with what. And for that matter, in the prelims, it is very, very good question. For PCS papers, also very important question. So, Alaknanda from Badrinath merges with Dholi Ganga at Vishnu Prayag. Alaknanda continues. Please understand, Dholi Ganga is merging with Alaknanda and Alaknanda is still continuing. Please understand, I am putting Alaknanda as A, right? Alaknanda as A. Now, Alaknanda is still continuing, right? Alaknanda is merged with Nandakini and it is known as Nandprayag. Nandprayag. Alaknanda is still flowing. Pindar Ganga from the Pindar glacier merges with the Alaknanda at Karnaprayag. The place where Alaknanda merges with Pindar Ganga is known as Karnaprayag. Again, you realize this, Alaknanda is still flowing. Now, Mandakini river from the Kedarnath merges with Alaknanda at Rudraprayag, right? That means Alaknanda is still flowing. Mandakini merges with Alaknanda at Rudraprayag. Alaknanda is still flowing. Now, Bhagirathi from Gangotri merges with Alaknanda at Devprayag, and this is known as Ganga henceforth. It is known as Ganga henceforth. And obviously, you know that Yamuna from Yamunotri, we'll be studying later on where the merger takes place at Prayag and all. And this is what is Ganga. Ganga name comes after the merger of Bhagirathi and Alaknanda. And then it is known as Ganga, not before that. Clear? So this is something that is happening or taking place in the state of Uttarakhand. Clear? Now we know we have a river Ganga here and the river Yamuna. Now we can study this particular part. Clear? Clear? Let's see. See, I am studying, I know this is a major river. You very well know, I have a little bit highlighted also. This is what is a major river Ganga. Clear? So over here we are going to study. I guess it is for everybody, it is clear. I guess it is clear for everybody. Tell me quickly. Now see, we have studied what happens in Uttarakhand. After that, it becomes important for us to analyze what is happening later on. Now, if you see over here, everybody, see this. If I see the direction of flow of the river, this is the river. So all these rivers are coming from what? All these rivers what are coming from the left side. These are the left bank tributaries. Obviously, you'll have the right bank tributary as Yamuna, though I've drawn it. These are the left bank tributaries. Yeah. Let us analyze each one of them. We will be giving a description. I'll be giving a description of each of the rivers and then we will be analyzing all the rivers also, right? Okay. Just have a look at this map. This is the main Ganga river and the other tributaries that are joining from the left side, left bank tributaries. Ramganga rises from the Gadwal hills near Gairsen, 596 kilometers, joins Ganga at Hardoi. So what is there? This is the Ramganga from the Kumaon region, right? This is the part and it is joining Ganga over here near Hardoi. Clear? Now comes Gomti. Gomti is a river, very important river, which basically originates from the Gomat Tal near Pilibhit. 940 kilometers, joins Ganga near Sadipur in the Ghazipur district. So if you see this particular river, Gomti river, you realize this is the region where Gomat Tal is located, right? Gomat Tal is located. So this is where Gomat Tal is located and it is joining near the Ghazipur district. Clear? This is what is the Gomti river. Important aspect is Gomti river is located on the banks of again Lucknow. So Lucknow has Gomti river. So this should again be known to you because it can be asked. Next, move ahead. Sharda river. Sharda originates from the Milan glacier in the Nepal Himalayas. Called Kali in Nepal, it is also called Gori Ganga. Right? Now let us see what is Sharda. Please understand this is Sharda. Now it is originating from the Nepal Himalayas, moving ahead and then further moving ahead. And later we know that how it is called Ghagra and all. We will tell you that. So this is basically Sharda river. Yeah? Sharda river. Now please understand. After having done Sharda, important river is known as Ghagra. Now please see here, there are two things that you should know. Chadra, Ghagra and Karnali over here. See this. When Sharda river merges with the Karnali river, it is known as Ghagra. Right? It is known as Ghagra. This should be very well clear to you. The name Ghagra comes after that. Clear? It is not called Ghagra before that. It is known as Ghagra after that, due to the merger of Sharda and Karnali river. So you can see over here, Ghagra originates from the glacier of Machungo and initially it is called Karnali, yes, because it is not called Ghagra before. It is known as Karnali. Later when Sharda merges, then it is known as Ghagra. So when Sharda merges with Karnali, it is known as Ghagra, merges with Ganga at Hajipur in Bihar. Clear? Let's move back again. You have another important river, that is Rapti, which basically merges with Ghagra. Next comes certain rivers like Kosi and Gandhak, right? Kosi, Gandhak and Mahanada. This river is what? Gandhak from the Nepal Himalayas. This is Kosi river and this is Mahanada river. That is the most rightmost left bank tributary of Ganga. So let's come back and see the description also. Kosi. Kosi is an antecedent river. What does it mean, antecedent? That means before the uphill also this was present. So it has basically cut down through the mountain ranges and made its path. It made up of 7 rivers. Out of the 7 rivers, there are a lot of Sapt Kosi, it is called. So there are 7 rivers which basically make up the Kosi River. Out of them, very important river is Arun River, which is the main river. It is also known as Sorrow of Bengal because of the large flooding that it causes in the state of Bihar. Meets Ganga near Kursela in Bihar. So let us see Kosi again. Kosi here, antecedent river. Over here in Bihar, it basically merges with Ganga. Next. Gandhak comprises 2 streams as mentioned in the NCERT, Kali Gandhak and Trishul Ganga, rises in the Nepal Himalayas between Dhaulagiri and Mount Everest and joins Ganga at Sonpur and Patna. So let us see where is Gandhak. Gandhak is this particular river. Right. Last is Mahanada. Let's see Mahanada. Mahanada originates from the Darjeeling Hills. It is the final left bank tributary of Ganga. So this can be asked in your paper also. So this is what? Mahanada. This is Mahanada. Clear? Clear? So this is absolutely clear to everybody. This is the left bank, the important ones, the left bank tributaries of what? Ganga. So I can put left bank tributary if I want. Clear? Okay. So Yamuna is not a left bank tributary. I've just marked it because just to show you that this is also a tributary. The left banks are this one. You know that very well. Let's move ahead. Now comes an important aspect. Do you realize that these rivers, what I'm showing you, basically is referring to an important tributary of Ganga, that is Yamuna. And Yamuna and its tributaries. And Yamuna itself is a right bank tributary. So you know that Yamuna and its tributaries. Yamuna and its tributaries. And its tributaries. Yamuna itself is a right bank tributary. Now Yamuna itself might have many right bank and left bank tributaries, which we'll study, right? So what is here? If I want to see Yamuna, see this Yamuna river from Yamunotri. This is again moving ahead and finally merging with the Ganga river, right, at Prayagraj. And it has a lot of rivers over here. Let us see and analyze all of them, or let us see a little bit description over here also and then compare it. Let's see. Okay. First, Yamuna, the westernmost and the longest tributary of Ganga. It originates in Yamunotri Glacier on the western slopes of Banderpuch range. It merges with Ganga at Prayagraj. So we very well know this is the region where it is Prayag, or Prayagraj is a region where it is merging, previously known as Allahabad. Now, it rises from, very well know that, Yamunotri Glacier. So this is again Yamunotri Glacier, then it is moving. It has another very important river, Tones, which we'll study later on. This is the main river. Clear? Now let's move ahead. Chambal River. Now let's see Chambal. This is the Chambal River, right? Now when I talk about Chambal River, I know many of the rivers are merging. Let's see first. You see Banas and Kairi rivers. These are from the Aravali's merging with the Chambal River from the left side, because Chambal itself has left bank tributaries. Then you have Shipra and Gambhir. These are rising from the Vindhyan range and merging with Chambal from the right side, right bank tributary of Chambal. Then you have this important river as Kali Sindh. Kali Sindh, rising from the Malwa plateau, is merging with Chambal. And then you have last as the Parbati river. This particular river is a Parbati river that is again rising from the Malwa plateau and merging with Chambal. Clear? Now let us understand this based on the description. See, major tributary of Yamuna originating from Mao in the Malwa plateau. It is known for Chambal ravines. That is a badland topography where massive or very deep erosional activities have taken place in those regions, which make it completely unfit for cultivation. Right? Very big ravines have been created. Right? Joins Yamuna near Etawah with respect to Chambal. Both Kali Sindh and Betwa, originating from the Aravali range, are right bank tributaries of Chambal. We've already seen that. Similarly, Gambhir, originating from the Vindhyan range, While Parbati and Kali Sindh originating from the Malwa Plateau join the Chambal as right bank tributaries. We just now saw that. Tons is one of the largest tributaries of Ganga, that is right bank. Which is Tons? This is the Tons river. There's a large quantity of water. Initially, more than what Yamunotri from Yamuna has its initial part. Tons has more water. Then it finally merges, and obviously the amount of water increases in Yamuna. Clear? So Tons is here. Now, Tons is an important tributary. Now comes another few rivers. Please understand, we'll read it and then go. Sindh and Betwa, both from the Vidisha plateau, join Yamuna. And Ken from Barmer, Madhya Pradesh, join Yamuna near Chila. Let's see them. We have the Sindh river and Betwa river from Vidisha plateau. And you have again Ken river from the Barmer range, which is again joining the Yamuna. Now these are what? The right hand tributaries of Yamuna, because they are joining from the right, because the Yamuna river is flowing in this direction. So these are the right bank tributaries. Now there are certain left bank tributaries also very small, like Hindon, Rind, Sengar and Varuna river are also there. So this is what with respect to Yamuna. Now let's come to certain other rivers which are again right bank tributaries of Ganga itself, because one was this Yamuna river as a right bank tributary, then other Son, then you have obviously Barakar river over here, you have Damodar over here. So let us see, Son river has certain tributaries as Zojila. Please see here, let us see first of all, you have the Son river. Son river has tributaries like Zojila, Gopal, Rihand. These all rising from the Amarkantak plateau. So let's read it. Son originating from the Amarkantak plateau and merges with the Ganga in the west of the Patna. West of Patna, it is merging with Ganga. Damodar river flowing from eastern margins of the Chota Nagpur plateau, eventually merging with the Hooghly river known as Saur of Bengal because of the large floods that it causes. Where is Damodar? See, the Damodar river is here, merging with the Hooghly river. Now Damodar has again a tributary which is known as Barakar. Barakar. So these are again the right bank tributaries of Ganga. Clear, everybody? Okay. So we have done with the Ganga drainage system also. So hopefully you understood it. Please note it down also very carefully. Next comes the peninsular drainage system. Again, bache, peninsular drainage system again becomes very, very important because of the very fact that the rivers of the peninsula are different little bit from that of the Himalayan region. Because as I told you in the beginning also, that the Himalayan rivers are fed by the glaciers as well as the rainfall. The peninsular are fed majorly by what? The rainfall. So automatically there's a lot of difference also. Again, there's a difference with respect to structure, as we had mentioned in the previous lecture also, the types of rocks, the arrangement of the rocks. Now you see whether when you are in the Deccan Plateau region, let us say for that matter, you have a lot of igneous rocks that are present, right? When you see the Himalayan regions, you realize those are young full mountains. So erosion of that is very different from that of the peninsular regions. So a lot of differences also there. Let's analyze the peninsular rivers also. That is important from your perspective of your civil services examination. Let's move. Okay, over here, first we are going to do section wise. Let me tell you the plan before we move ahead so that it is not confusing for you. We are covering, let us say, Narmada, Tapi, few small rivers over here. Then I'll explain you all of them. Then I'll move on to Mahanadi. I'll explain all of them. Then I'll move on to Godavari and its tributaries. I'll explain all of them. Then I'll move on to Krishna, explain all of them. Then I'll move on to Kaveri and explain. So this is a system that I'm following so that you should be able to understand what I'm trying to convey. Because when I've divided into parts, it is easy for you to remember and recall in your examination. Let's see. Over here lies the Narmada river. Again, an important tributary is Hiran over here. And then south of it lies the Tapi. Now the Narmada river originating from the Amarkantak plateau and Tapi river from the Satpura range. And there are certain other rivers also, Luni from the Aravali, small Banas river, Sabarmati river and Mahi from the Aravlis. Okay. Now, having seen the path, let us analyze a little bit. Now the Narmada river originates from the Amarkantak plateau. It originates from the Amarkantak plateau, flows between the Vindhyan range and the Satpura range. This has been repeatedly asked in your various PCS examinations and even in the UPSC as one of the statements. Which river flows between Vindhyan and Satpura? People tend to get confused between Narmada and Tapi. They know it is out of them only, but they get confused in the examination. So always remember that Narmada is the one which is flowing between Vindhyan and Satpura. Clear? Then Dhuandhar waterfall near Jabalpur basically lies with respect to the Narmada river. So this is an important waterfall associated with Narmada river. So this is what your Narmada river. An important tributary is Hiran tributary, which is again the right bank tributary because the flow of the river is this side, right? It is basically moving on the, it is draining into what? The Arabian Sea. Clear? Yes. Next comes Tapi, originates from Multai in Madhya Pradesh. Basin lies in Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh and Gujarat. So the drainage basin is covering these three states. Clear? So this is what? The Tapi river. Now let's move ahead. Luni. Luni originates near the Pushkar, Rajasthan. It has two main branches, Saraswati and Sabarmati. Drains into the run of Kutch. It is epiphermal. What does it mean? That means it is seasonal, not annually. That means it is flowing throughout the year. No, it is just seasonal whenever there is rainfall. So let us see Luni. This is your Luni river, right? Slowly, slowly it merges, moves here. Now if you see, Sabarmati originates from the Aravali range and drains into the Gulf of Khambat. Okay? See here. Sabarmati drains into the Gulf of Khambat. This is the river. Next comes, this is Mahi. Let's see, Mahi originates from the Amarkantak, again drains into the Gulf of Khambat. So these are the small parts, Narmada, Tapi and little bit associated rivers, which we have done now. Now let's move to the other part, which is the focus is Mahanadi. Mahanadi. Now Mahanadi, please understand, has various other tributaries. If you see here, please understand, this is the flow. So these are what the left bank tributaries, these are right bank tributaries. Left bank is Hasdio, Manda and Ib, Ib. On the other hand, Jonk, Ong and Tel are the right bank tributaries, right? Mahanadi rising from the Chhattisgarh basin, right? And there is another very important river, that is Subarnarekha, rising in the southwest Ranchi. This is again Subarnarekha. Let us, having seen these pictorial representation in the map, let us analyze them here. I have minimized the size over here also. Mahanadi originates from Sihava in the Raipur district of Chhattisgarh, length 851 kilometers, drainage or drains the various states of Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh and Orissa. So what is it? See, this is the region, right? And these are the tributaries which as mentioned over here, so you can note it down. These are the left bank tributaries, these are the right bank tributaries. Now comes Subarnarekha, originates from the Ranchi plateau in Jharkhand. Clear? So we are done with Mahanadi, its tributaries and Subarnarekha. Clear? This is draining into what? The Bay of Bengal, right? So Bay of Bengal drainage, you remember that we had done? Okay, let's move ahead. Now comes an important river along with its tributaries. It is the Godavari river. Now you see over here, Godavari river. The Godavari river is here. Now Godavari river from Trimbakeshwar, that is Nashik district in Maharashtra, it originates in Nashik district, moves for 1465 kilometers and drains into the Bay of Bengal. Clear? Now see over here, we have done all these Mahanadi and all these rivers. So I have not removed them, so that you should be, when you are making the map also, you can just carry forward, right? Now see over here, some important tributaries. These are the, because the direction of flow of the river is left this way. So these are left bank tributaries. Important one, let us say, is Ganga, which is joined by Vardha and Ganga, again tributaries. Next is Indravati. Indravati over here. Indravati over here. Then you have Sabar. On the other hand, if you realize, from the right side you have Manjra, which is joining from the right side. This is the Godavari, right? It is draining into the Bay of Bengal. Let's analyze certain dimensions associated with that. Godavari originates in the Nashik district, Trimbakeshwar, as we had studied. Largest river system in the peninsula. So it is the largest river, or that is why it is very important also. Runs through, again, the river Godavari runs through the state of Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. From where states is the Godavari passing through, right? Tributaries, Manjra, Pranhita, Indravati, Penganga, we have studied them. Drainage basin again is a larger area because a lot of tributaries along with the main river, which all states it is covering. Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Odisha, Yanam, that is Puducherry. So all these places are being drained. Clear? Now we have done with the Godavari and its tributaries. Clear? Let's move ahead. Now comes the important river, which is Krishna. When I talk about Krishna river, it is rising from Mahabaleshwar, moving and then finally draining into the Bay of Bengal. It is 1401 kilometers long. It has various tributaries. See here, you have an important tributary like Bhima, you have Musi, you have Muneru. These are all left bank tributaries. On the other hand, you have the right bank as Ghatprabha, Malprabha, and Tungabhadra. These are what? The right bank tributaries of river Krishna. Clear? Now let us see certain details associated with them. Krishna is the second largest river flowing in the peninsular region. Rises near Mahabaleshwar in the Sahyadris, that is the Western Ghats. Right? Sahyadris, you know that Western Ghats in the Maharashtra region are known as Sahyadris. Tributaries Koyna, Tungabhadra, Bhima, Musi, Muneru. Remember, questions on Musi and Muneru have been asked as one of the statements in the previous year questions. If somebody would have studied them, you would have got the complete question right, otherwise wrong. So every single word that I've written or a map that I've drawn becomes important for your preparation. Drainage area Maharashtra, Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh. So we have done with the Krishna river. Let's come further south. We have an important river which is again what? Krishna river. Now Krishna river is 800 kilometers. It has important tributaries in the form of, that is Hemvati, again Kabani, then you have Amravati. Many people get confused, possibly thinking Amravati is, again it is a place also which you go to Andhra Pradesh. But please understand it is a tributary also of Kaveri. So you should not get confused, right? Kaveri originates from the Brahmagiri hills in Karnataka. Tributaries Kabini, Bhavini, Amravati, Himvati drains Kerala, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. So these are the important places that you should be aware of. As we move ahead, now these are certain things which I've briefly mentioned which you should know because this can be asked. These are small or very small rivers that are basically let us say draining the Bay of Bengal or the Arabian Sea, though you should be aware of it. I mentioned the names of the state also which they are flowing. This can be asked. Very small rivers. So that means the minor drainage basins as we had classified. So these are again representing them. If you see here, there are few rivers like Radha and Shitrunji. These are small rivers in the state of Gujarat. These are draining what? In the Bay, in the Arabian Sea, right? Then you have Vetarna, again draining into what? Small rivers draining into the Arabian Sea in the state of Maharashtra. You have Kali Nadi and Shrahavati. These are in the state of Karnataka, again draining them in the Arabian Sea. Then you have Bharatpuzha and Periyar in the state of Kerala, again draining in the Arabian Sea. Now if you move ahead, there are small rivers like Vegai, Gundar and Arjuna. These are all in Tamil Nadu draining into the Bay of Bengal. So these are small rivers that you should be all aware of. Now the problem that arises is many people do not remember that or might forget. So let us make it very clear that we have done with the Himalayan and the peninsular drainage, but we should also understand what is the difference between them. Clear? So you have done with the drainage system, peninsular, and as well as the Ganga, Indus and Brahmaputra. The Indus, Ganga, Brahmaputra are associated with the Himalayan drainage system, and then you have studied the peninsular, where you have studied Narmada, Tapi, Godavari, Krishna, Kaveri. Then you studied a very small other rivers that are draining the Arabian Sea or the Bay of Bengal. Now, what is the difference? Himalayan rivers, place of origin, Himalayan mountains are covered with glaciers in the Himalayan region, Peninsular Plateau and the Central Island region. Nature of flow, perennial, because perennial means throughout the year. That means receiving rainfall, from rainfall also they're getting the water, and also from the melting of the glacier. That means receiving water from the glaciers and rainfall. So that is the nature of flow, that is perennial. These are seasonal because they're dependent upon the monsoons which bring water with them. Otherwise they'll be dry. Type of drainage, antecedent and consequent. You know that antecedent, consequent, we've already studied that in the concepts. So these are again, many dendritic patterns are also formed here. Over here, superimposed, rejuvenated, leading to trellis, because you realize that the topography of the region of the peninsular plateau is very different. There are a lot of hard rocks, soft rocks are present there. So you realize these types of trellis, rectangular pattern are more visible there. Unlike in the case of the Himalayas, where you realize that erosional activities or erosion of the Himalayas that are taking place are themselves made up of very soft sedimentary rocks. So you see more of dendritic pattern over there, while in case of the peninsular plateau, you realize that hard rock, alternatively hard and soft rocks are present. So we realize that a lot of superimposition, trellis-like patterns and all those are formed. That is why you will be seeing radial patterns, annular patterns also formed or seen in the regions of the peninsular plateau. Nature, these have a long course, these have relatively smaller courses, because you know that over there the slope, again the initial slopes is very, what we say, very steep, and again lot of water is being fed, so the courses are relatively larger also. Catchment area again very large, small. Age of river, youthful and relatively older. What do you mean? If you study the erosional cycle of a river, even if you haven't studied, because you are going to study later on, I'll be teaching you that, but understand this, that in a course of a river, please understand there are stages. Youth stage, mature stage, and the old stage, right? So what happens during the youth stage? Initially, let us say the rivers in the Himalayan region, a lot of erosional activities are taking place, gorges are being formed. Slowly you realize that the slope decreases, and in the old stage you realize depositional type activity will be taking place, the slope is less. Similarly is seen with respect to the Himalayan and the peninsular, because over here the speed of the river is relatively faster also, we realize, because the slope is there, a lot of erosion is also taking place. Erosion extent is also larger, because reason behind it is that a lot of silt is being eroded, but a lot of silt is coming. A lot of silt coming along with them. Again, that first page is marked. Then you realize slowly the slope will decrease, mature stage, and finally deposition taking place. Let us say like the Sundarbans and the Ganga Delta. In case of the peninsular regions, you realize that over there already the topography is made up of very different from that of the Himalayan region, where you realize the rocks are old, the slope is not so steep as in case of the Himalayas. So it is resembling like the old stage of a river if you study the erosional cycle, or let us say the stages of the stages of a river. So that is why we generally say relatively older rivers, or let us say old stage of a river is present over here. So these are the differences that you basically observe. Now, this is what was your lecture. This is what your lecture was with respect to the drainage system. This lecture was little lengthy, I know, but you should understand that every single point makes sense here. A lot of extra stuff has been added from the other NCERTs also to make you understand. Please remember that, read the content well, watch the lecture if you want to watch it multiple times to understand the concept. Once you have understood, it will be very easy for you to go ahead with it. So please make sure that you do it well, and along with it, revise it, make notes, and at last the goal is achieving the goal of being a civil servant. So you will be, this content and this teaching will help you to achieve your goal. So please watch this lecture very carefully, make your best effort and achieve your goal. We'll be coming with the next lecture on climate and continuing with the series. The lectures are going to come on a basis of every Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday. There are 7 lectures that we had mentioned in the introductory lecture also. 7 lectures are coming. We'll be covering every aspect. First, we have covered the aspect of India location. Then we have covered the structure and physiography. We have covered here the drainage system. We'll be covering then after that climate. Then we'll be covering the hazards and the disasters. Then we'll be covering the aspects of soil, then vegetation. And these will be the 7 lectures that will be covered. So please make sure you keep the pace, revise it, and you will be very good at geography if you follow the lectures properly. At the last, if you like the lectures, you can tell us in the comment section how you like them. As at the last, we always say, take care and Jai Hind. Meet you in the next lecture.